Realty Income stock ticker symbol O is once again trading near $50 per share and is currently down almost 22% over the last year. Now, if you've watched any of my videos before, you're probably guessing that I've been buying more Realty Income as it's been trading lower, and if you guessed that, you'd be correct. I've been grabbing more shares of Realty Income almost on a daily basis, which has given me a total as of filming this video of around 2,838 shares of ticker symbol O. But in this video, we're going to dig a little bit deeper onto why Realty Income might be selling off as of recently, and I'm going to share some of the main reasons on why I think ticker symbol O is still a smash buy opportunity as of right now. Now, if you own Realty Income, or maybe you've ever planned on it, make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. I just finished my brand new dividend investing ebook where I share exactly how I went from zero to now over 7 figures invested, and also on how I earned more than $6,000 per month in dividends. I also finished my custom dividend tracker that you can use to track your dividend income progress on an ongoing basis. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. So first things first, let's talk a little bit about why Realty Income and REITs across the entire market are still continuing to sell off and not reach new highs, even though as of this point they've been held down for quite a while now. Now this is of course due to the Federal Reserve raising interest rates up to as high as they currently are, and now as of recently because CPI, the Consumer Price Index, coming in a little bit higher than expected, there's less of a chance of rates being cut a little bit sooner. Now right here on the Fed rate monitoring tool, you can see the probability of a potential rate cut or rates being left the same, and this is during the March 2024 meeting. So as of right now, it looks like the Fed most likely is going to keep rates the same, at least that's what the market is pricing in. But further down the line in May and of course in June, there's a much better chance that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates by then a little bit lower, and then later on in 2024 and beyond, there's a good chance that rates are going to be significantly lower than they are currently. Now, what do interest rates have to do with REITs? What do interest rates have to do with Realty Income? Well, because Realty Income, of course, is a real estate investment trust, Realty Income does have some debt maturing. I think in the next few years, it is a little bit low interest. So it does mean that Realty Income is going to potentially have to raise some more debt with some higher than ideal interest rates sometime soon here. Now, on top of that, for Realty Income and other REITs across the market, when they're playing on the offense, acquiring new properties and expanding, etc., utilizing debt is a big part of the business. And while debt is still as expensive as it is to utilize, it's most likely going to hold down the REITs for a little bit longer. Now, I talked about, at least for me specifically, how I've been looking at this as a good buying opportunity, especially as a 31-year-old dividend growth investor that isn't looking to sell any of my Realty Income in the next year or so. I've said this before and I'll say it again, I honestly do not care if Realty Income trades mostly sideways for the next 3 years and continues to pay me more and more in dividends every quarter or so. Now, I guess I'm a little bit biased because I also sell cover calls on the shares of Realty Income that I have pretty much across my portfolio, so I do earn even more money if Realty Income trades sideways, but even still, I have no problem whatsoever earning almost a 6% yield on my money, especially knowing that Realty Income at some point is going to start moving up and, in my opinion, reach a new all-time high within probably the next 1 or 3 years. Now, of course, don't take my word for it. We're going to have to wait and see if and when interest rates do get cut, what's going to happen to the REITs across the entire market. And of course, not to mention if there is some sort of black swan event that really starts to crush commercial real estate. That's all, of course, in the cards. But at least for my risk tolerance personally, I'm still betting big on Realty Income at this point. I think Realty Income is going to be a dividend growth king that's going to be at a new all-time high, like I said, probably within the next 1 to 3 years. Now, I sort of mentioned that I do not mind whatsoever if Realty Income trades where it's been trading for longer, and that's simply because I'm still in the accumulation phase as far as building out assets for my long-term portfolio, which I'll show you guys my entire portfolio towards the end of the video in case you're interested. But because I'm still in an accumulation phase where I'm trying to buy more and more assets for obviously as cheap as possible, you want to buy low and sell high, of course. Especially being a dividend focused investor, the lower the assets cost, the higher the starting yield, especially when we're talking about an asset like Realty Income that does have a history of raising their dividends pretty consistently. I have no problem whatsoever buying more shares of Realty Income, getting paid a starting yield of 6%. And as you can see right here on the historical dividend payout chart, Realty Income has paid more and more and more every single year for many, many more years than I even knew about Realty Income to begin with. Now, as of recently, I've also been seeing a lot of investors hating on Realty Income, saying that, well, over the last 5 years, Realty Income officially has a negative total return, even with the dividend included. And to the investors that are saying that, well, for one, I would tell them that a lot of investors that are buying into Realty Income aren't really all that concerned with the next 1 to 5 years. A lot of people buying Realty Income are long-term investors. and or investors like myself that sell covered calls in our shares, which in that case, Realty Income trading sideways or even down a little bit is a-okay. But just to give some more perspective on how Realty Income has performed over even a little bit longer time frame, just to zoom out a little bit. If an investor was to have spent $10,000 on ticker symbol O, and this was back in 2000, so around 24 years ago, which gives us a nice amount of data to go off of. If an investor was to invest $10,000 in ticker symbol O, reinvest all the dividends along the way, that investor would have turned that $10K into $195,000 over 24 years, and that's an average annual total return of 13.1%, or a total return of 1,852%. And it's obviously no secret if you look at Realty Income's price performance on the long-term time frame. On the max time frame, you can see that Realty Income not all that long ago was trading at under $10 per share, and I get it, ticker symbol O was almost to 80 per share, but ever since the craziness in 2020 and then the Federal Reserve raising interest rates, it's been a rough patch for REITs across the board. But it's still no secret that Realty Income does have the potential to keep moving up from here. If interest rates get cut, I think it's going to put Realty Income into a really good position long term. Now, all that being said, with Realty Income, or really with any investment, an investor is really going to also want to keep in mind what time frame they're talking about investing into something. If they're going to need the money in, say, 1, 3, 5, or 10 years, or maybe if it's a long-term buy and hold forever position, there's going to need to be a lot of questions answered to figure out what asset is perfect for that investor, of course. But like I mentioned, for me personally, I'm still personally in an accumulation phase. I'm reinvesting all of my dividends, around $6,000 plus per month, into more shares of some of my favorite dividend stocks and ETFs across my portfolio, as you can see right here. And side note, you can of course grab this same exact dividend tracker. It's the first link in my description. But Realty Income, as of right now, I think is my second largest position in my entire portfolio, Apple being number one, because I do own 1,000 shares of Apple also. But Realty Income at 2,800 plus shares, I think I have over $140,000 worth of Realty Income. Now, I have little interest in making my Realty Income position much larger from here, but hopefully over time I'll continue to stack up more and more shares as time goes on. Although as a long-term investor, I am still a big fan of diversification, so this portfolio of course isn't only going to be Realty Income, although it is my favorite single stock in the entire stock market. Now lastly, just to be fair, just to play devil's advocate for a change, I also want to talk about some negatives when it comes to Realty Income, and trust me, in my opinion, there's not that many. But of course, one of the main negatives right now is going to be that interest rates are still relatively high, and with Realty Income's 13,000 plus commercial properties, the cheaper it is to acquire debt is of course the better. But on top of that, I also think that Realty Income's client diversification, if I were to be extremely critical, there are certain names in this list that Realty Income does have a lot of exposure to that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of. Now, to name a few in case you're interested, names like Walgreens, even Dollar General makes me a little bit nervous. But again, because Realty Income is so diversified and has over 13,000 commercial properties, even if some of these names, even some of the top 20 names, even if they have a few bad quarters or a few bad years, that's why diversification is so important, because you don't put all your eggs in one basket, and that's definitely what gives me peace for investing so heavily in ticker symbol O. But when it comes to Realty Income ticker symbol O, now I want to hear from you guys down below. Are you currently buying more shares of Realty Income where it's trading as of currently, or are you holding off for a better deal throughout the markets? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.